What's going on, guys? I'm going to give you guys the top 5 meta loadouts for Season 6 of Warzone and Modern Warfare 2. You can use everything I'm showing you guys in this video in Modern Warfare 2. So the first thing I'm going to show you guys is the cast off. Now, as you guys see, there's going to be the new weapons in here too, so be prepared for that. I know you guys are excited. So the first thing I'm going to show you guys is the cast off 762. Even though they nerfed it, this build right here is the absolute best build. Starting out with the second tread 40 for the vertical and horizontal recoil control at the cost of aim down sight speed and aiming stability. For the tuning, what you want to do is set the recoil control to 0.11 inches and the recoil stabilization to 0.49 ounces. The next thing is you're going to put on the cast 10 584mm barrel for damage range, bullet velocity, hip fire accuracy, and recoil control at the cost of aim down sight speed, hip recoil control, and movement speed. Not a big deal. For the tuning, set the damage range of 0.28 inches and the recoil steadiness to 0.26 pounds. Next thing is you're going to put on the lock grip precision 40. If you don't want to use this, you could always use the VX pineapple. Completely up to you. But for the tuning, you don't even have to tune this, so that's one freebie right there. Next, put on the 40 round mag. You don't really want to have the 20 and the base is just not ideal. The next thing is the MW2, and I set the far distance maxed out. Last but not least, I put on the MW4, and the beautiful thing about this, you can choose any optic you want to, but the far distance is going to be maxed out, and this thing is the ultimate AR to use. Despite any new update that's happened in the series, this thing is the best AR to use in my opinion. It just does the damage so easily. It does the job. Very little recoil. Even with the 3 plates on, it still does insane amounts of damage. Like, look at this. It just, you barely have to try with it. The long range is the only one that gives you somewhat of a hard time, but barely. Look at that, no recoil as it is. Next, we're moving on to the beautiful ISO 9mm. This thing is now the new close range meta. Trust me, you want to use this. It gets the job done so quickly. We're going to start out with the 9-inch PTX trainer for damage range, hip fire accuracy, movement speed, and bullet velocity at the cost of aim down sight speed, hip recoil control, and recoil control. Now, this thing has basically no recoil, so even if you see a bunch of things I put on here that take away from recoil control, it's still not going to have any recoil. So I increase the damage range by 0.30 inches and the recoil steadiness by 0.47 pounds. Then I move on to the 9mm hollow point for the crippling power. This thing is basically a concussion on steroids as soon as you hit their legs, so try that out. You'll really like it. If you don't want to use that, then I have an alternative for you, don't worry. Next, 50 round drum. This is a necessity because the initial bullets are not enough and 20 round mag is just a joke. Do not use the 20 round mag. You're going to be very disappointed. But put on the VLK laser 7 MW for aim down sight speed, aiming stability, and sprint to fire speed at the cost of the laser being visible in ADS. Just be aware of that. Don't just sit in a corner ADSing. You're going to die. They're going to be ready to fight you. For the aim down sight speed tuning, set it to negative 24.68 feet. Or as close as you can get. Someone comment if you guys can get exactly on there. I'd be very surprised. But the sprint to fire speed set to negative 0.23 ounces. And last but not least, put on the collapsed stock for aim down sight speed, sprint to fire speed, movement speed, and hip recoil control at the cost of aiming recoil control, aiming stability, and flinch resistance. This thing is honestly the best for close range. Like, I can't really find anything that actually competes with it. The only downside is long range. It's just not happening. Like, I don't think anyone would think of using this long range, but it's not happening long range if you thought it was. This is so ideal for close range, so just make sure you're using it for that and you'll be good to go. Next thing I want to show you guys is the beautiful Cronin Squall. I mean, I've always loved this weapon. They've tried to nerf it to death and it's still amazing. Put on the second tread 40 for vertical and horizontal recoil control at the cost of aim down sight speed and aiming stability. Set the recoil control to 0.28 inches and the recoil stabilization to 0.59 ounces. Next, put on the HR 6.8 barrel for damage range, recoil control, bullet velocity, and hip fire accuracy at the cost of aim down sight speed, hip recoil control, and movement speed. Now set the damage range to 0.37 inches and the recoil steadiness to 0.39 pounds. Put on high velocity, just personal preference. You can use hollow point if you want to, but the tuning is going to be the same. Set the bullet velocity at 8.71 GR and the damage range of 0.50 G. 50 round drum because the base is not a good idea. 30 round mag is just not in my favor either, so 50 is ideal. And then the MW4 or whatever you want to use. This is just my personal preference. Set the tuning to far, max it out. And this thing is just honestly one of my favorite ARs in the game as well. Like, the cast off is like #1, but this thing just deals such a heavy punch. The only downside is the recoil, as you guys see. So if you guys have the recoil on point like me, where you can just do this, no effort, and then no effort, then you'll be good to go. Next thing I want to show you guys is the Lockman Sub, but it's not this version right here. The version I want to show you guys is actually this version right here, with the Merc foregrip starting out. For the underbarrel, hipfire accuracy, recoil steadiness, hip recoil control, and aim walking steadiness at the cost of hip walking speed and aim down sight speed. For the tuning, I set the aim down sight speed to negative 0.27 inches and set the weight to negative 0.44 ounces. Next, I put on the 9mm hollow point for the crippling power. The tuning for bullet velocity is set to 4.65 GR, and the damage range sets to 0.38 G. 40 round mag, I mean, I don't think 50 is necessary, and 15 is just not it. You don't want to start with the base 30 either, so 40 is just a sweet spot right there. VLK laser 7MW for aim down sight speed, aiming stability, and sprint to fire speed. Remember that the laser is visible in ADS, and set the tuning to negative 18.10 feet or as close as possible. Let me know if you get it exactly. Negative 0.11 ounces for sprint to fire speed, and then the FT mobile stock for sprint speed, aim walking speed, crouch movement speed, and aim down sight speed at the cost of aiming stability and recoil control. Set the tuning for aim walking speed to negative 1.47 inches and aim down sight speed to negative 3.23 ounces. And here's the end product. This thing is now close second. I mean, very close second when it comes to close range, but you see the difference. Like, the ISO just kills so much faster, and it even does a great job at mid-range. But this thing is still ideal. Like, I think the majority of people are still going to use this for their main SMG, and I don't really blame them. It is a fantastic overall SMG. But for me, now the ISO gets the job done at close range much quicker. So that's what I'm going to stick to. Now, last thing I'm going to show you guys is the TR-76 Geist, just because you guys are going to want it. I know you guys clicked on this video to see a class setup with it, so I'm going to hook you guys up. So for the barrel, there's a multitude of things that you can actually use. I would probably go with an actual short barrel, or something like the Freight 40 barrel, just so you can actually have a built-in sound suppression. But overall, you don't actually need anything that helps too much with the damage range. This already has an insane amount of damage range, so it's completely up to you. But just for the sake of it, we'll go with the Freight 40 barrel. So we're gonna throw that on there. And the next thing, because it's blocking the muzzle, there's a multitude of things. Like I said before, you can increase the bullet velocity. It already has great bullet velocity, but if you want to have that, you can throw that on there. For the magazine, I would highly recommend putting on the 45 round mag. For the optic, which you can do is, well, I am gonna go with the AIM-OP V4. And then from here, there's really only a few things you can do. So you can give yourself more aim walking speed, more recoil control. The combs, I mean, they're not really necessary. You don't have to really mess with those. And remember, there's also a version where you can use the single tap. I don't really recommend that, at least not yet. I'm not really fully sure. I haven't given it a full chance, but that's not what I would go with. I would go with this version, but just to show you guys how this actually works out in the beginning. This is very easy to use in my opinion. As you guys see, super low recoil, it does a whole lot of damage. So if you want to give it more recoil control, the last thing you can actually put on there can be the Pineapple, VX Pineapple, and it'll basically give it no recoil. So put it on right here, absolutely melt. You don't even have to really try. Like, I wasn't even holding my thumbstick down. That's how easy this thing is to control. So in Warzone, this is how fast you're gonna actually kill them. Long range is going to be super easy, so give it a try if you want to. This thing is really good, but I just don't think it's meta. If you guys want to try it out though, here's your setup.